If you didn't know, it has already been revealed who Belle's aunt is, and the last living blood relative in his family when he was still a child. But not only that, Belle has already met her in a very specific way. In the official main story, Alfia is absent. He believed he had no living relatives, and thought he was alone in this world aside from Hestia's family. However, in a bonus chapter of the light novel, we are shown how Belle's life would have been if he had not only met his aunt, but also been raised by her. For us, it is an extra chapter, but in the main story, it was more like a dream for Belle, which left a strong impression on him. So today I'm going to talk about this with you. After all, I love Danmachi, and I'm committed to bring the best videos I can to my viewers. So don't waste time and join the great family by subscribing to the channel to support my work and of course receive the best of the otaku world. Alfia the Silent was one of the executives of the powerful Hera Familia and is considered one of the most talented humans, if not the most talented human in the history of Danmachi. She was an absolutely powerhouse. This tells us that talent definitely runs in Belle's bloodline, as Alfia, like him, was an extraordinary anomaly in her era. Alfia is the twin sister of Meteria, Belle's mother, who was unfortunately very ill, but we won't delve into that part of the story here. When Belle was born, Horario was in chaos. The Zeus and Hera familias has been annihilated during their campaign against the Black Dragon of Calamity. Meanwhile, the Loki and Freya familias were doing everything they could to fill the void, expelling what remained of Zeus and Hera familias from Horario. At that point, newborn Belle was entrusted by Meteria to Zeus, who was asked to take care of her son, as she had very little time left to live. This is how Belle came to be raised by Zeus. In the original timeline, Alfia, despite knowing about Belle's existence, chose not to interfere, allowing Zeus to raise the boy. She didn't believe she had the right to do so, as she had always prioritized her own affairs over her nephew. Thus, Alfia stayed away, never contacting Belle and leaving him to grow with only Zeus as his adopted grandfather. But in the extra chapter, titled A Calm Dream from a Distant Place, we are introduced to a different version of her. What would happen if Alfia had taken care of Belle and his family? This chapter takes place in a dream of Belle, a dream of a distant place, a dream of a calm and serene twilight. Here, Belle walked alongside Alfia in the mountains while returning home with her. Alfia, as always, was in her black dress, eyes closed and silent. Here, when Belle calls her Obasan, which in Japanese means grandmother or aunt, she would hit him, as she don't want to think of herself as old, but less been referred in such way, and Belle as a child couldn't even avoid Alfia, let alone defend himself from her. She wanted him to call her stepmother Alfia instead of aunt, precisely because she hated looking old, especially in front of her nephew. In this timeline, Belle grew up with Zeus, as in the main story, but 3 years ago, Alfia came to meet Belle, and they started living together. In their household, there was Belle, Zeus, Alfia, and Zaud, who was Alfia's companion and a former executive of Zeus' family. And of course, everyone took care of Alfia, since she was an erotic queen who hated noise, so she would hit everyone if she found something irritating. She was basically the one in charge of the house, and obviously, having Zeus and Alfia in the same house would be difficult, as they were completely different. Zeus is a pervert, and she is hot-headed, so there was always a lot of fighting in that house, but things still work out. Alfia took good care of Belle, much like a mother would, so of course a violent mother who would blow up the house using magic if Zeus mess up. But that was just the everyday life, and they had all getting used to it a long time ago. One day, little Belle, who didn't know anything about his parents, asked Alfia about his mother, and she replied that Meteria was kind, always had a smile on her face, and would calm people down. Her body was weak, but she was by no means fragile. She didn't let anyone think otherwise. She was loved by everyone, a woman as pure as Belle himself. So when it comes to food, she was simply awful. Meteria was a woman who valued life precisely because she knew its worth, and so she never bowed to life's pains, always expressing gratitude when she was helped. And while talking about her sister, Alfia was smiling with love on her face, much more talkative than usual. Here, Alfia reveals that she never intended to meet Belle, nor did she think she deserved to be part of his life. But she says she gave in to her worries, concerned about the child her sister left behind, and then went to the mountains with Zaud, wanting to see Belle from a distance, and ensure that he was okay before leaving. But before she could leave, upon seeing him, the feelings blossomed in Alfia's chest. and when she realized it, she was already in front of the young boy, hugging him, and from that moment on, they would be together. And Bell remembers fondly that day. He saw an unfamiliar woman out of nowhere who hugged him tightly after asking his name, and he felt a familiar sense of nostalgia from her. And it is funny because if he hadn't met her, he would have spent his childhood alone with Zeus, reading stories of heroes to ease his loneliness. And here we discover that our Bell in the main story grew up lonely and feeling alone. He had his grandfather, but that was it. It was just him and his grandfather, with stories of heroes to fill the emptiness in Bell's life. So it's kind of cool getting to know more about Bell. But well, all good things don't last forever, and Bell wouldn't be with Alfia for the rest of his life. As the time was approaching, Alfia, who normally already coughed a lot, started coughing even more, coughing violently when no one was around, even coughing blood. She was sick, my friends, as she was born with the same disease of her sister. This year, Bell would turn 7 years old, and the time for the farewell between the aunt and the nephew was slowly approaching. And then, after that, upon hearing about his mother, Bell commented on how a dark-haired god had been looking for her and Zaudi earlier, even causing the usually playful Zeus to become serious at that moment, but they sent him away. Alfia says that she chose Bell and would never leave him to choose evil, that God wanted to be the absolute evil, and in that way be the villain who would create and help the next hero be born, but Alfia wouldn't leave her family for that. However, Alfia was also worried here. If she didn't choose evil to create a hero, the world could be destroyed. They needed the last hero to deal with the Black Dragon. This was a choice weighing heavily on Alfia's mind, her family and the world, but she chose her family. And Bell, seeing Alfia in that situation, decided that he would become the one, he would become the last hero for his aunt, and would tell her this with tearful eyes, looking at the woman who was his only mother in this world. Here, although Alfia cursed Bell, she still smiled and was proud of him. He made her smile with this declaration. He pointed to hope and showed a future to Alfia that made her happy. An ideal that from that day on, he would walk toward tirelessly. From that day and that promise, this boy became a hero. Both Alfia and Zaud, some of the most powerful beings in the world, would train him, with Zeus, the creator of heroes, obviously offering his support to it. Bell would endure hellish pain, as training with the most powerful people in the world to walk the difficult path of a hero isn't easy, especially since Alfia is a bit crazy, but that didn't matter because of this promise. And so, both of them would return home, and Bell would no longer cry. He had no reason to show hope to the old heroes that their successor would come. He smiled and walked calmly toward the future. And soon Bell wakes up from his dream, a dream of a woman he had never met and didn't know who she was. A dream with a Bell Chronel similar to him, but not quite him. A dream where the woman and the child walked in the light of the night. It was a peaceful dream, beautiful and very lonely for Bell, as he woke up crying. The only thing the two Bells had in common was that the boy swore to become a hero for his beloved mother, and Bell wants to become one for several reasons, but mainly because he was raised in that way. Here, Bell didn't know if his wish would turn into determination or something more. He hadn't moved forward yet, but in order to not forget the dream he had just had, he began to run and run even more. Leaving his room and his mansion in the early morning, he started running through the hero city toward his goal, to not forget the beautiful dream he just had. And that was the encounter of Bell and Alfia in Bell's dreams, where even though he had never met his aunt, she still appeared in his dreams for him. So what did you think? Leave a comment, hit the like and subscribe to the channel to support my work. And of course, if you want more Danmachi, keep watching here because I know you like it. Now I'm out.